The divisional round of the NFL playoffs are here, and I got Dave Kluge in here to help me break down all of the Sunday action in the divisional round of the playoffs. Texans, Patriots, Rams, Bears, everything you need to know coming up next. Like I mentioned, that is Dave Kluge. You can find him over on X at Dave Kluge. Kluge is spelled Kluge. So, Dave, good games coming here on Sunday. I'm biased towards my Texans going up against the Patriots. And then we got the Rams Bears. But one of the biggest things about the Sunday games is there's going to be some weather. It's going to be cold. It could be wet. So, kind of talk to me about what you see with the weather, any concerns, and just overall, what do you think of these two games?
The wind too, we got the Rams traveling to the Windy City, and we were getting like hurricane gusts coming off of Lake Michigan just yesterday. I was just looking; they're saying the projected weather, the temperature is going to be -1 with wind gusts between 20 and 25 miles per hour. So, to me, as we're kind of going through this, we know both the Bears and the Rams have very good running attacks, but they both split the backfield where we get DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monangai involved. We see Kyron Williams and Blake Corum involved. So this is one where I don't want to fully fade the pass catchers here, but I think I'll be a little bit more interested in the running backs in that matchup in Chicago than I would be the quarterbacks, wide receivers, and tight ends.
Yeah, and we start spinning. It's going to be really tough when you see that wide receiver, Puka Nacua, projected #1. And you never think that you'd have a doubt in your mind. It's like Puka Nacua, lock, easy. And maybe now it's like, hey, if I'm going to finish first in this contest that we're spinning for with 50 people, maybe fading Puka could be the move. So we'll have to see what shakes out there. I'm with you on the running backs. Let me ask you, I'm biased as a Texans fan, so I probably shouldn't opine too much on this game because it'll just be Colby's biased and everything is rosy through rose-colored glasses talking about the Texans. But what do you make of this Texans-Patriots game? What's the matchup we need to look for? How do you think that game shakes out?
I mean, the Patriots' offensive line has taken a huge step forward this year, and then we're looking at the Texans with arguably the best pass rush in the NFL. So I'm going to be watching this game closely in the trenches. We've got some fun playmakers there, and of course, in this sort of fantasy spin thing that we're doing, we need to look at the wide receivers and the running backs and all that. But from a pure football standpoint, I'm going to be watching closely what happens in the trenches. I think whoever can get the most movement up front is going to end up winning this game.
Is that a very elaborate way of saying you think that game goes under?
I do. I expect both of these games to go under, as we get into the depths of the playoffs, especially these outdoor games. We see things get a little bit wonky sometimes. So, yeah, not expecting a lot of scoring on Sunday.
I'm right there with you. So we'll go ahead and give it a spin. And with this contest that we are in, you do need to have a quarterback, a running back, a receiver in those dedicated spots. And then we do have 3 flex spots to go forward. So let's go right to the quarterback because it is a position here that we do have to lock a certain player. And so we have CJ Stroud. You got Drake May going up against a tough Houston defense. And then you got Stafford and Williams in the potential snow wind bowl, whatever you want to look at. So do you have a preferred quarterback that we basically say, hey, we are not going to lock in a quarterback until we get this particular guy?
I know you said you're a Texans fan, so I'm sorry to do this to you, but Drake May is the highest projected guy that I have for this weekend. Even with the tough matchup, playing at home, we know that he can also get his points on the ground as a rusher. So Drake May is the guy that I would want here. CJ Stroud is my number 2 guy. I don't know if we want to lock him in yet, but looking at this, we already talked a little bit about the run game in Chicago, and I expect them to lean on that, especially in these cold weather games. We heard Ben Johnson say this in the preseason about Kyle Monangai. He said as the weather turns late in the season, this is a guy that we really want to lean on, and he has done that. We didn't see Kyle Monangai involved almost at all in the first 4 weeks of the season. They came out of the bye, giving him a little bit of work, and that has just steadily grown since. So I still prefer Swift ever so slightly to Monangai. I think he'll get more touches, but Monangai's usage near the goal line sets him up to potentially really outpace that projection that I'm seeing right here.
I don't mind locking him in. He's a good player at the flex spot. There's 4 games that we're choosing from. We could get stuck with the likes of Cade Stover and some other third string tight end on Sunday who you don't know. So I like locking in Monangai, and I'm with you. I think if I get a good running back, either in the running back spot or those flex spots, that's really where I'm looking.
With that being a new, this is a new game for me, so I do kind of have a question on like the game theory here. Do you typically try not to lock in your flex spots early so you do have that flexibility a little bit earlier or a little bit later, or does it make sense to try to flex running backs and wide receivers? This is new to me, so I'm learning as we're doing this.
Yeah, this is the age-old question, my friend, because when you start getting into this, there is more volatility at flex.
Right.
So here, I'll give you a good example. In this case, if we got Kyle Monangai up in that dedicated running back spot, I would push back a little bit on locking him in
All right.
just because we know the other options that are there. However, when we start talking about flex players, there are 4 teams playing. There are 39 options in the flex. You
Right.
can get kickers. So that's involved.
Right.
Or instead of Kyle Monangai, here are your options. How can I interest you in a Olamide Zacchaeus or a
Or not a
Jawar?
Mumfield.
Yeah. How can I interest you in those guys? So for me, especially in smaller slates like this, where we have 3 flex spots that we're trying to fill, if I get someone who I deem to be a viable producer and I like the matchup, I'm locking them in there in the flex spot.
All right.
So
Well, let's do it then.
I like Monangai, and then maybe we are going to lock in Jalen Knoll. I don't know. I don't know your thoughts on him there, and we're going to get to that. But with no Nico Collins, we saw Christian Kirk was the main guy last week, though Collins was involved for most of that game there. What Houston receiver, if you kind of had to bank on it, leads the Texans in receiving yards against the Patriots? Is it
I
Knoll?
think it would I think it would be Christian Kirk just because we
Yeah.
saw him do it last week. A
Mhm.
very talented veteran. Like he's been one of these guys that back to his Arizona days. I have just looked at him as one of the most underrated receivers in the NFL. I was
Mhm.
really excited when he signed with Houston because I saw a big role for him, especially with Stephon Diggs not there, but started off getting injured in the preseason and then injured at the start of the year as well. It took him some time to kind of get
Mhm.
up to speed in this offense, but we saw last week this guy can step up and be a wide receiver one when called upon.
Christian Kirk was one of my main preseason draft targets. So I guess what's the saying
Same.
for that? Not never wrong, just early. I was
Exactly. Yep.
17 weeks too early on, on Christian Kirk. But hey, nonetheless, he's here now. So we're going to take Kyle Monangai from our first spin and we're going to give it another spin. And we get, wow, multiple studs there
Wow.
on the board. Okay. So you already mentioned Drake May's your number one guy. So we're
We're
going
gonna
to
lock
lock
him
in
in.
Drake May.
I
We
kind of
get
feel bad
DeAndre.
locking in Monungai now that we see Swift up there, but
Well, here's the beauty. If you prefer Swift, we can unlock Monangai.
all right. So I think that's what we do then here is
Okay.
unlock Monungai. And can we lock Swift and Diggs as well?
Yep. So we locked in Swift. We have 2 more locks. If you want to, we can lock in Diggs and Kirk or
That's that's
Diggs and
that's what
Schultz.
I'm thinking. Yeah, I mean, I love the May Diggs stack.
Mhm.
We see, Diggs. These veterans tend to step up in the playoffs more than they do in the regular season on a per route run basis. Stephon Diggs was one of the best wide receivers in football this year, coming back from that ACL injury. He was just in a limited role for the first 10 weeks of the season. We're seeing
Mhm.
that role grow now. I could see him really stepping up in this one. So love May. Love the stack with Diggs here. I think DeAndre Swift is a nice upgrade from Kyle Monangai. And then we just talked about Christian Kirk potentially stepping up with Nico Collins out again. So I'm feeling really much better about this after the second spin than I was after the first spin.
That's the beauty of it. You never know how it's going to shake out. I like Dalton Schultz as well, but down in that flex spot, there's still some other guys that we're looking at. And I will say with Stephon Diggs, the Houston secondary is very good. Jalen Petrie has been very, very good this season. But in
It has been.
terms of pure coverage, if you give me my choice of throwing at Derek Stingley Jr., Kamari Lassiter, or Jalen Petrie, as much as I love the Guardian cap, I'm going at Petrie over
It's
Lassiter and
funny
Stingley.
Petrie, look at him like he's this small guy. He's like much more of a thumper than he is a
Mhm,
coverage guy. I mean, it's a yeah, no, Derrick Henry talked about it earlier this year, saying
mhm.
like Jalen Petrie was the guy that like just caught me off guard and completely depleted me. He is a one heck of a hitter.
He sure is. So we will now. With that being said, we are going to go at him a little bit with Stephon Diggs. But another thing too, I'll mention this with Houston. It's very hard to have those long methodical drives against them,
Right.
but explosives can get them. And
Mhm.
Diggs is no stranger to making a big play on occasion. And before we move on from Diggs, let me ask you: can we count this as a revenge game for Stephon Diggs, considering he played 8 games for Houston last
I don't know
season?
if there's any I don't know if there's any bad blood there, but if there's one thing we know about Stephon Diggs, it's that like he will manufacture reasons to hate your guts even
Mhm.
if they aren't really there. Like he is a very emotional player. We saw his first blow up game of this season came against Buffalo, and I think there was a little bit more animosity
Yeah.
there with Buffalo. But you better believe Stephon Diggs is thinking of every single situation where he felt slighted during his time in Houston and using that as extra motivation in this game. So yes, I would consider it a revenge game.
Spiteful and Stephon Diggs in the same sense. I don't think that has been said before. So we'll move on. We'll lock in those guys. We got May, Kirk, Swift, and Diggs. So we are fresh out of locks. We are spinning now for these 2 flex spots. So for
So do
example,
we
we can
wanna
spin
lock
here.
Schultz before spinning? Because like, I do kinda like Schultz as well, especially, like, if we're making the bet on May and Diggs, we've kinda got the run back options with Kirk and Schultz. I'm not against it here because we could if we spin 2 spots, we could end up with 2 kinda duds here, and I do like Schultz. I mean, this is a guy who seems to pull 8 targets almost every
Mhm.
single week, especially if Nico Collins isn't playing. I think there's a pretty strong argument for keeping Schultz here.
If we can lock in Schultz, the only problem is we'd have to take a lock from somebody else.
Ah, all right, all right. I see how this goes now. All
So do
right,
you
then if
like
we
Schultz more than Swift or more than Kirk or more than Diggs? That's where
I
you
I
could.
I don't think I'm there.
Okay. So yeah, so we are going to be spinning for these two spots. So there is a world, and it probably will happen, where we're going to get the likes of Woody Marks, and then it's Cade Stover. And it's like one guy you like and one guy you don't like. And we just have to see kind of what shakes out. So we are spinning for these two spots. And what
Oh,
ends up
oh,
happening
love them
is
both.
something like this. So now what you have to say is, do I like one of these guys enough to take a lock from somebody else? Am I spinning again? Or shoot, I love Luther Burden and Tyler Higbee. This is the lineup. I'm locking in the lineup and we're going in.
Let's lock it in, man. I like this. I mean, not crazy about Higby, but this is a guy who just always seems to step up in big
Mhm.
moments. He's got that connection, especially near the red zone. So, when I look at that 8.5 points, I could see that easily coming on 15-yard reception for a touchdown. That's kind of all you're hoping for with Higby. And then Burden, we have seen this guy just like slowly kind of developing into the wide receiver one. So I say that we just keep this as is. I'd be shocked if we end up with two better options than this at random.
Yep, you can certainly get stuck with a lot worse. I will tell you that. So we're going to lock in that lineup, and then now we're going to put our money where our mouth is with the players that we got in our lineup. So, Dave, as we're looking at our lineup here, which players did we get in our lineup are you most confident that exceed their projected point total here as shown on the screen? We got to do more. Fantasy Spin's all about optimism, so it's all mores, no less. Who goes over the projected point total?
You know what? I think that we can get Diggs there. I think Diggs can easily go over. Higby, I kind of jokingly said that, one
Mhm.
15-yard touchdown catch is all he needs, but a 15-yard touchdown catch and then a 2-yard out route puts him over his over. So I think if we're betting on him to get a touchdown, it doesn't take a lot for him to get over 8.5. So don't
Mhm.
feel extremely confident about it, but just, kind of playing the likelihood here. I think that can hit as well. And then let's go with Christian Kirk here as
Mhm.
well. I think that 8.2 fantasy point projection is a little bit low. Probably still expecting Nico Collins to be out there. I would expect Kirk to finish closer to the 12 to 15 range without Nico Collins than that 8.2. So those are the three that I think are most likely to go over.
And Kirk was the main one. If you had someone else in, I was going to make sure Kirk was in there because much like the Houston defense, you go at the slot. If I'm the Houston offense, I more so want to go at Marcus Jones in slot coverage rather than Carlton Davis and Christian Gonzalez, who is going to play on the
If the
perimeter
weather
there.
if it wasn't projected to be this like snowy hurricane in Chicago, I'd probably go with Burden, but I do have a fear, weather doesn't impact football games quite as much as we expect unless it is very extreme weather. And this seems like it's not just bad weather. This seems like it is trending towards that extreme weather where they might not be able to push the ball downfield. And, Luther Burden might get some gadgety touches here and there, but I think he is one of the more volatile players in this lineup.
Yep, I agree with you as well. So we're going to take these three, put 1,000 tokens on it, try to win 5,000 tokens, and that is going to be the lineup that we spin. So, Dave, before I let you go, real quick, give me the winners for these two matchups. Who's winning the two games on Sunday?
I hate to do this to you. I know you're a Texans fan, but I do think the Patriots are going to win it. Mike Vrabel just has these guys playing great football right now. And then I'm a Bears fan as well. So I've got the same emotional investment in that late game that you have in the early game. And as much as I would love to see the Bears just continue doing what they're doing, I don't know how many rabbits they've got inside that hat that they just keep pulling out
Mhm.
seemingly every single week. So I think that there is a lot of talk right now about how, the Bears playing at home have been such a better team and Matthew Stafford can't play in the cold. But when I look at the veteran leadership in Matthew Stafford, the coaching with Sean McVay, there's a lot of reasons to go with the Rams here. So as much as I would love to see the Bears win, I've got the Patriots and Rams winning this weekend.
I'll go Texans and Rams. Not that that's much of a surprise on my end. So that'll be the breakdown for the Sunday game. So obviously, Dave, they can find you over on X at Dave Kluge, DAVEKLUGE. But anything else that you want to promote? Anything else you want to shout out here for the rest of the football season? The floor is yours.
Everything's over here at Football Guys. So footballguys.com. You can see my articles, podcasts, YouTube shows, all that good stuff. The big thing we're working on right now is our rookie draft guide. That's going to be releasing in just about 2 weeks. We've got 158 rookies in version 1 coming out here. That's in-depth scouting reports, schematic fits, player comps, everything that you could possibly want for rookies. So still working away at this, but we will have that first version live in just about 2 weeks.
make sure y'all check that out. I know I'll be enjoying the games this weekend with one of my what is it, one beer away from talking sleeper tight ends football guys, pint
Absolutely.
glasses.
That was a hit. We sold
Yep.
so many of those when we dropped that one. Yeah, people like that one
Yep.
quite a bit.
Well, I got two, so I will definitely be enjoying out of those. And once again, give Dave a follow over on X at Dave Kluge. You can find me on X at Colby R Conway. And there's no better time, y'all, to download the Fantasy Spin app so you can spin to win and experience the newest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Very easy to download. Head over to the Google Play or the Apple App Store. Download the Fantasy Spin app today, and we will see you on the leaderboard. What's up, y'all? Hope you enjoyed the content. For the avoidance of doubt, please note that I, Colby Conway, am a DFS player entering these contests under the username Colby Conway. The strategies and recommendations in this video do not necessarily reflect the views of Fantasy Spin. Please play responsibly and visit fantasyspin.com/responsible gaming to take advantage of Fantasy Spin's responsible gaming resources.